Sipho, thanks. Well, last evening, as you saw here on the Full View in an address to the nation, President Cyril Ramaphosa said he was challenging the findings of the Public Protector Advocate Bisisiwe Mkhwebane that he had lied to Parliament after she found that he had broken the law by not disclosing the money that was paid into the account of the CR17 campaign. You remember that was the campaign that won the ANC's leadership campaign contest at Nasrec. Sipho Pityana is the chairman of Business Leadership SA and the former convener of the group Save SA is with me now. Mr. Pityana, good evening. Thanks so much for coming.
Good evening, Stephen, to you and the listener and the viewers.
This brings up all sorts of issues. We've had the finding, of course, from the Public Protector today.
Yep.
Firstly, do you believe the Public Protector now, after what happened today, should be removed from office?
Well, if you have a Public Protector with a litany of findings that are thrown out by the courts and scathing judgment that we had from the Constitutional Court, this time you have somebody who has brought the office of the Public Protector into disrepute, and the only honorable thing that she should be doing is to step down.
Okay, so you want her to step down herself?
Well, it would be good if she stepped down, because it will show that she holds very strong moral high ground. As Business Unity South Africa, as you would know, we had written to the Speaker of Parliament to ask that she must cause for an inquiry to be held into her suitability to hold office.
Okay. Let's move to the issue, and this is in a way sort of the big issue in society, is around how political campaigns are paid for. The President is in this political trouble, if he is in trouble. He'll deny that he is, partly because of how money was managed for his ANC leadership campaign. Firstly, are you surprised at the amounts here? We're looking at least, at the lowest estimate, 200 million rand being spent by CR17 to win at Nasrec.
Well, I can't place credence in a report by the Public Protector, because I think that today's judgment confirms what we had before, that her methods of investigation are questionable. She shows bias. She's capable of telling untruths. So we have a situation here where we have a Public Protector who is not credible. So such report as we have coming from her, we can't place reliance on. That's at the heart of the problem.
Well, his own lawyers did confirm some of these payments.
Well, the Office of the Public Protector is such an important institution in the architecture of our democracy. So we should, in fact, when we have a report from her, sit up and say, you know, this is a cause for concern. We need to make sure that we get to the bottom of the issues. It's a pity that there are questions about whether we can place reliance on it or not. The reality, though, is that at the heart of it all is the terrible nexus between politics and money. We've seen what it has done. The whole debate around state capture is, in fact, about that. There is lots of money that is seeking to take over democratically elected government, not only in South Africa, but all over the world. Why we are going headlong and repeating the mistakes of many before us is hard to understand.
All right. We know that millions of rand was spent. I mean, Professor Anthony Butler, I'm sure you'll know who he is. He is seen often as he's the biographer of the president. Mm-hmm. He titles in his book, Cyril Ramaphosa, The Path to Presidential Power. His chapter on the Nasrec conference is called the billion rand election. Billion rand election. Did you donate money to the campaign?
I don't donate money in a manner that's not transparent. I believe that when you actually donate as a business person or as a private individual, it's a way of expressing your political choices. So my take is that it is appropriate for corporates and for business people to donate to political parties as a way of showing their support for the democratic project, but also expressing their own choices in the political milieu. And also it enables, if you do it transparently, for the public to actually see whether as a result of your donation you are getting the benefits in terms of business opportunities or opening up of prospects, so that you can be held to account. Okay. Transparency is a critical issue for me.
How would we fix this problem? So we have the Political Party Funding Act that says that we must know how donations to parties. It seems to be silent on internal battles within parties. If you play a big role, if your money changes the outcome of an ANC internal battle, we all know that gives you a certain political heft as a business. Well,
first of all, I think that it's commendable that we have Parliament that has passed at long last this legislation. It is not without its shortcomings, and President has assented to it. We've been invited by the IEC to public hearings that will be held in Cape Town in respect of the regulations that they have drafted that will look at this. There is no doubt that we're going to have to come back and look at what the implications of some of the campaign money that goes into political parties, how it should be covered and regulated in terms of all this. Because it's clear that those that are seeking influence don't just start with funding political parties when they go to parliament. They also are there in the middle of contestations.
Okay. We seem to have a situation where politically the pendulum goes back and forth. And Mr. Pityana, I mean, you're technically a businessman. Yeah. You might deny being a political player. I don't know if you would. But you've obviously played a role. The real issue now is that we have a political situation where different groups push backwards and forwards against each other. At the moment, much of the public narrative is around two different groups in the ANC, for example. This seems to suggest there's no way out. We go back, we go forwards, we go back, we go forwards, or we swing from one side to another, more accurately. And in the meantime, our multiple crises around inequality, unemployment, lack of economic growth, etc., just seem to get worse and worse. Governance seems to get worse and worse. We might find now that the Office of the Public Protector is delegitimized in the eyes of many people, and yet she is not removed for political reasons. How would you get South Africa out of this current situation?
Well, I think that the idea of business and politics as dichotomous is a false one, because the two are mutually reinforcing. In an environment of political chaos, business cannot thrive. And similarly, a business that lacks opportunities to create and advance growth of the economy undermines the ability of stable politics, because to the extent that we have inequalities in society and to the extent that we have marginalized people that don't feel that they're benefiting and getting the dividends of a democratic system, clearly you can't have a successful business in that environment. So we have to work together and ensure that we have a common project. I'm not as pessimistic as you are. I think that our democratic project has gone through the most severe test in the past 10, 12 years, and it has acquitted itself very well. As business, we're quite optimistic about where things are going. We are keen to play our part in defining a chart for inclusive growth, because we don't believe that government can address poverty, unemployment, and marginalization alone. We have to play our part in that prospect, in that journey.
Okay, so you're optimistic. I would imagine then that you believe that the president is getting the upper hand. Is that what you're saying?
Well, in my view, I think that South Africa would squander the Ramaphosa opportunity at its own peril. In my view, he has demonstrated his commitment to establish ethical leadership and has taken steps to ensure that we restore the credibility of various institutions of our democratic system, including the criminal justice system and all of that. And we have been in conversations with him and other ministers in the economic cluster to work out a way of getting our economy out of where it is. As business, we believe that we have a partner in the president and his cabinet that we can work with to restore the country to where it should be.
Sipho Pityana, thank you very much indeed. Sipho Pityana is the chairman of Business Unity South Africa. I think I incorrectly said business leadership. I do apologize. He's also the former convener of the group Save SA.